Our father and child of this occasion, my sister, renowned scholar, the representative of the Honorable Minister of Education, Professor Oloyede, the Deputy Secretary and Professor Muhammad Bakali, Chairman Committee of Global, our distinguished former Executive Secretary of the National Commission for Education, Professor Kabiru is that very nice. Then next, was the ladies on his way in touch with us, and we have Professor Monday. And now we have the current ES. We have also here as a lead discussant, a former provost, a former rector, and currently DCC academic of Federal University, that's one, Professor Fatima of the country. We have our former provost and our former chair of Committee of Federal Provost, Dr. Kunle Ilani, member of the management of the NCCE, our provost, and the compelled to come down. I want to see the list of my teacher and father was done by the Pastor of the Protocol of Super. Honorable Minister John. Members of the management of the NCCE, all directors here. Members of the Committee of Provost. The chair of the Committee of Registrars and Bosses and Nigerian College of Education, distinguished colleagues in COEASU and other unions present. Please permit me, gentlemen of the press, if I have skipped you, it's still advanced, please come to this way. Please be out with me. I want to especially recognize the provost of Nigeria, the provost of Zuba, and others. Please be recognized. It is with delight that I, on behalf of the Union, welcome you all to the special summit geared towards harnessing critical stakeholders' perspectives in addressing the challenges of the College of Education subsector of our dear country. Just about 3 years ago, you will recall, COEASU collaborated with the National Commission for Colleges of Education to create a national workshop for union leaders and managers of the Colleges of Education on policy, institutional and industrial issues, and all other appropriate matters. That workshop has, to a large extent, prompted some measures of cooperation and industrial harmony between the union and managers of the colleges. We are convinced that the union's role in the system must be beyond agitation for the redemption of material and financial entitlements, to equally include all collaborative efforts as official stakeholders, as critical stakeholders in evolving best practices and strategies for repositioning the subsector to deliver not only on the current mandate, but even utilize its enormous potential for all-round teacher production with greater efficiency and effectiveness. The summit represents our present strategic effort in that direction. It is an indisputable fact that the development of every nation is tied to its education. Indeed, the guidance of a nation's educational system sets the pace of its progress in practically all aspects of life. It therefore goes without saying that this is a philosophy upon which developed countries place a heavy premium on education. Thus, nations desirous of meaningful advancement in their national life ensure that their brightest and best human resources are invested in this sector. What is central to this is the issue of the teacher as an indispensable factor for the realization of the goals of education that a nation may set for itself. This is because as the action goes, no nation can rise beyond the quality of its teachers. Hitherto in Nigeria, a lot of attention was paid to the education of the country. This glorious era, which is now referred to with nostalgia, produced Nigerian scholars of great minds, teachers and other professionals and other professionals that were raised amongst the best globally. Nigerian institutions attracted scholars from all over the world. Our educational institutions, inclusive of the colleges of education, worked hard to justify the core mandate for which they were established. Regrettably, there are only no signs that all these will be part of a very remote, glorious past. The contemporary reality has seen child education deteriorating to an all-time low, to the extent that courses in education are the least preferred choices of many prospective Nigerian students. This has given many a well-meaning Nigerian concern. Where and how did we get it wrong? Should we recline to faith by simply working helplessly and allowing the subsector to continue wallowing in this state? Is there a way out of this sorry situation that we found ourselves? These are the nagging questions that gave rise to our agitation, that gave rise to our attempts to engaging the various authorities and engaging and challenging the process to our union government. With renewed people, the union engaged the federal government since inception on the issue of system infrastructure review of mandate in line with contemporary realities, subscription and bravery, management and governance, policy and administrative concerns, among others. The union deployed the more conventional approach of diplomacy and tact, hoping for a radical departure from the characteristic questionable disposition that often was perceived of government. The response elicited has been very predictable. Incidentally, amidst the pandemic that has challenged the global economies, is also considered watertight. The federal government's futile attempt at explaining and seeking to address these challenges could therefore no longer be considered as rhetoric. We are facing the stark reality now because of the COVID situation, particularly with special reference to the issue of funding. Consequently, the description of the woes of the subsector, especially as it relates to the aspects of funding and its prioritization, can best be described as experiencing a debilitating downturn. This indeed marks the need for us to re-strategize towards interrogating the challenges of the subsector with a view to coming up with sustainable solutions. Quite a number of issues provoke our thoughts, and these issues are not unconnected with the issue of funding, the issue of governance, the issue of administration and management of the subsector, as well as developing issues, particularly with emphasis on research and development, as the current thrust of the tertiary education fund. Could the state of the subsector be hinged on curriculum or governance only? If diploma is the issue, then it has a bearing on virtually all aspects of it. That is the curriculum, because that is the core of the professional practice as teachers. Considering the fact that it is reviewed periodically, what are those challenging issues that are emanating from it? If it is the latter, that is, if it is governance, then how can we claim that it is governance that's actually affecting the quality of education sector, particularly as it stands today? We can view governance along two fronts. First, is it the governance within, or is it the extrinsic aspects of governance? The governance within, in this context, presupposes the issue of administration and management of the system. That's the politics on one hand, and the NCC on the other. Honorable Mr. Sir, I'm happy to welcome the Honorable Chairman of the House Committee on Tertiary Education and Services. Honorable, you are welcome. As I was trying to engage us on the aspect of the governance, is it the external factors of governance as we know it? In which case, is it the attention of government? Having looked, we need to engage the issue of the intrinsic aspect of governance in terms of the issues of administration, the issues of management of the system. How are we being governed? How are the colleges being run? What about the role of the NCCE as it were? What about the interrelationships, the role of FME, NCCE, what relationship exists? Even within the colleges system. Governance aspects of it also entail, that we look into the relationship with the colleges, labor management, the management students level, and the entire count of the college system. Everything about governance of the system is one of those things we must engage in this process. Then, of course, the other aspect of it, of course, is, like you said, is the curriculum. The issue of review of the curriculum. How relevant have we the review been? How relevant have they been in the context of what we are discussing today, in the context of Nigeria? Is it possible for us to start looking at curriculum that will take care of issues of the economy, of issues of needs of society, of our respective communities? Perhaps when we come to the R&D, our discussion will be giving us a lot of talk on it and funding. I'm speaking to this because we understand that the Honorable Chairman of the House Committee is listed for a very critical presentation at the National Assembly today, being one of their sittings. That is why I decided to speak on the Honorable Mr. Sir, and as a single chairman's father, sir, I decided to speak to this because of, for want of time. Funding. What about the aspect of funding? Funding, as we know, have been very critical in every facet of life. Especially with the COVID, And the scope of governance today, as we understand it, there is a crunch, which we've just been told that we were out of recession by a meager 0.1%, 0.11%. That is a meager 0.11%. But it is something to cheer about. We compare it in relative terms, or in comparison with some developing economies. But how does this translate, as we speak, to improving the lot of the quality of education system? What has been the pattern of funding been? Essentially, we have made all our discussions except one, except two, as former executive secretaries of the commission. Prior to 2005, funding of tertiary institutions were passed through the institutions themselves, and then from the institutions, I meant to say, through the commission. Today, we are witnessing a situation where funding is directly dependent on the National Assembly from 2005. Is this healthy for the system? We will be engaging this issue of funding a little bit. I want to distinguished father and chairman, sir, my teacher, sir, the representative of the Minister of Education. Because of the itinerary of the school chair of the House Committee of Teacher Education and Services, it's out of respect for the Honorable, for the Chairman and Honorable Minister and others who will be against that probably not like you here because of the caliber of your representation here. That said, it will take time off to be here. And is stated as the second presenter of his case. So may you permit me, sir, I crave your indulgence to hold my keynote so that we can allow him give his speech for him to make that his presentation at the National Assembly. Yes, sir. And sir, I just want to please that the Honorable Minister also quickly makes his speech and declares it open so that he could make his own and take leave of us for his speech. Distinguished Chairman, sir, I was actually on the issue of funding when we had that break. As I was trying to draw up, as I was trying to explain to us and draw our mind to what exists today. What kind of the mode, in which case, particularly the envelope system that we have as practice today, in terms of resource allocation and utilization, or let me say utilization today, is basically hampered because of the nature of the allocation of resources by government. We have instances where the difference of proposals are hampered by the mere legislative procedures of the National Assembly. Prior to this, it has been the commissions of the tertiary institutions that it has been the practice of the commissions to engage the National Assembly. And through that, there is a latent factor that is not present in today's mode of allocation of resources, and that is discipline. Through that, the Commission was able to exert itself on the institutions. And we do know that he who controls the resources, not even having the resources, but they control it, have a lot of influence, enormous influence. Today, that opportunity has been taken, that privilege has been removed from the commissions, not just the NCC, all the commissions. But in our case, in this context, it's out of it. That is why we're engaging it. And because we have seen the pitfalls of not having the initial mode of allocation of resources. They now have direct allocation. Then what about even we? If we have our excuses, we're engaging government on adequate funding. What about what we do internally? What about the resources that the institutions have commissioned themselves towards doing? There is the issue of IGR. How meaningfully have they deployed the IGR to the services of the college towards effectiveness, towards improving the effectiveness, efficiency in the system, and the effectiveness of the staff as well? So we will be engaging ourselves on funding. Now what about the commission? The issue of accreditation entails money and a lot of other things that they, in terms of the service delivery of the commission as a regulatory agency. So these are the kind of issues that we do hope participants during the plenary will be engaging in towards getting a more robust discussion. And we are speaking about governance. The other aspect of it has to do with research and development as academics. In fact, the college of education system as designed is tailored towards the configuration of the university. How do I mean? Comparatively, the polytechnics are more of skills acquisition. But knowledge dissemination in the college of education system is universal. All the programs are just as you have in university. The only difference, of course, is the fact that education is a compulsory course. You must combine it with education. You must combine it with education. That is the basic system. And then we do know, of course, that there are some courses that exist in the programs that exist in the universities that are in the college. So, by configuration, we are supposed to be much more of a research and development institution than that of the polytechnics. But today, what is the state of the colleges in terms of research and development? We will have as the present thrust of the tertiary education trust fund, national research fund, we are cutting-edge researches as opposed to be conducted and then studies executed. And of course, we have a product are expected. But to what extent have the colleges risen up towards this challenge? And lo and behold, we have a second one coming. And of course, the tertiary education trust fund today is expected to have a national research foundation by the end of the year, 2021. Specifically by September, they hope to have in place national research fund. To what extent has the colleges been risen up towards facing these challenges? In other words, what is the relevance of research and development in the current configuration vis-a-vis the development of the economy as a knowledge-driven economy that Transform is trying to bring to draw the minds of researchers, particularly universities. How will the colleges fit into it? Or how will research and development, how will it be used in the college of education system towards having the relevancy in legislation? We will be engaging ourselves on that. And then, last but not least, the issue of subscription. As it stands today, there are two aspects of it. People no longer subscribe to teacher education. People no longer subscribe to it at the lowest end. They don't longer enroll. We have the privilege of meeting with the representative of the Honorable Minister today. The registrar of JAM, who dedicated time himself and his management, they met with us. We try to eliminate come up with strategies towards addressing the issue of attrition in subscription to teacher education, even at the lower level. As it stands today, we are heavily overworked because nobody comes in here. No sooner they came in and acquired PhD that they moved into the universities. We are having attrition on two fronts. At the lowest end, nobody is enrolling for colleges of education programs. They will rather go to the university because of the similarity, because of the sameness of entry qualification. Here, we are losing our men to them. Because no sooner they acquire PhDs than they quickly move into the university. That's also an attrition in itself. Even though it is time bravery. How do we continue to address this very matter that has a problem on our existence? It's existential. And that is why we brought in the issue of subscription to the system. And then we also be looking at the standard. Apart from attrition, we're looking at the standard. What is the standard of service delivery? Can we put our arms and blame it on private service providers? We conducted a research. The civil chairman and the operator of honorary research. We conducted a research on private college education. Our discovery was mind-boggling. Terrible things that we discovered. As time here for the challenge. Some private college education teacher HCE certificate just within 2 years. But can we the accurate low performance of graduates of the system, can we attribute that to this colleges alone? What about us? What is the extent of service delivery? How effective have we been on the job? These are all the issues that we must engage in. It's taking more time because of the imperative we have to allow the honorable member of the House to. So these are to address. So these are the kind of issues that we hope that this stakeholder, let's not talk about the philosophy for bringing in the stakeholder. It's just simple. College of Education Staff Union has been doing it all alone. We said, okay, let us have a robust discussion, bringing in the FCCE as the regulatory body, but they also have their challenges there. Bringing in our sister unions, the senior staff union, the non-academic staff union, and lower level, and then the committee of us, all the various segments of the college of education system. Senior chairman, sir, this is why we are here. I want to thank you so much for the attention you've given us. That in spite of the security situation, in spite of the different state of our roads and other infrastructure, you took it upon yourself, all of you to be here. And we have the distinguished presence of the Honorable Minister of Education and others. We're really indebted to you. And we do hope that after this whole thing, whatever issues of policy, whatever issues of funding that may be arising from emanating from the proceedings, we will be further engaging you towards ameliorating the situation. I want to thank you so much for your attention, and I want to profusely apologize that we had to start this program later than scheduled. I'm so very sorry. I'm so very sorry. Thank you so much. That was